them, you know, they're more grainy. When you see them on a tighter screen, they're a little easier to see. But there's a point after the shooting where you know, there are a bunch of witnesses that say, oh, Peroni grabbed his head and stuff. He's not doing that at all. I mean, I'm sorry, Meserly grabbed his head. All he's doing is having a conversation with Peroni, and then the cover-up starts. And you get the sense that Meserly was looking for an opportunity to do this, was going to shoot somebody, was going to shoot somebody black, took this moment and this opportunity to do it, felt no remorse about the fact that he did it, and then asked, what do we do from here? And Peroni said, leave it up to me. Get rid of the train, cuff him or uncuff him or whatever he thought was the right thing to do, and let's just proceed from here. And Peroni tells the whole story then. And it's Peroni's job to look at the videos and try to make sense out of, you know, to try to put them together, to put them in the best light possible. And that's why he's saying all these contradictory things. And he does it, and it is hard for me to believe that that Peroni and Meserly's relationship is simply the relationship of two policemen trying to look out for each other. There is something else going on. We need to find out what it is. We do. We need, you know, there's that, in the OJ trial, there's that moment where he gets the guy, because he, you know, they dig around and they find out that the witness was a racist. Okay, I don't think we have to dig that far on these guys, but we do need to know more about them. We do need to find that information out, because we got to nail them for who they are, to make it impossible for a jury to acquit them without it being clear that they're acquitting the equivalent of Klan members or skinheads or Nazis. And if they're not in one of those groups, they're in something like it. They're in they are people that appear to believe in white supremacy. That's the best way I can say it.
Well, do we all agree that he is handcuffed while being shot, before being shot?
You know, it sure looks like that. I mean, I think it's really,
Can we
really.
look at it and slow it down?
He has to be handcuffed because he was shot. He didn't move after that.
Right.
A person who been shot gonna do something with their hands.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna just take a shot and just stay there.
Yeah.
So we already, I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead. I want to just read you one other thing, just to, you know, okay, but go ahead, please.
You got average people want to know what can they do. This is where we want to go. Average people, young people. I mean, they don't want to know what they can riot and all they want. They want to know what they can do to make sure this goes the right way.
I think it is circulate the petition.
And the petition is for what?
It's to get justice for Oscar Grant.
How do we get justice?
We've got it because we're calling for, you know, the police to be arrested. We're calling for the, you know, Berkeley to be disarmed.
And how does the petition work with that?
What do we do with it? It's the easiest way to show that there's a growing mass awareness of what's happening. And it's the easiest way for us to make sure that we're talking to people, because anytime you're circulating a petition, you have to talk to people to get them to sign it, to make sure that we're you know, placing that information in their heads. I think beyond that, it's going to be really, really, really important for us to organize as big a demonstration as we can for the March court date. I think it's March 23rd. In which they're going to see if they have enough evidence to bind Meserly over. And we're going to find out what it is they're binding him over for. Open murder, manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter. That's going to be a really important hearing. And I think one of the problems that we have, and I'm not being critical of anybody who's on our side in saying this, but we need a huge outpouring of people for that. And the people who come out for that have to know that they're not going to be risking being arrested themselves if they turn out for that event. And so, to the extent that we can make sure that that event is peaceful, is, you know, orderly, is, you know, a march that can be, that no high school student or parent with their children feels that they cannot attend for fear of what might happen to them. If we can create that situation, we can turn out. I really believe this. If we're talking to people, we're getting people, we're making clear how important this case is, we can get some thousands of people to be there. And that will make a huge difference. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I know you've had your hand now, just it's one thing, and then Kanye, and then Jack. To me, we stand in defense of every single person that's been arrested in any way with this, okay? Any of the protesters, all of that. Absolutely for their defense, absolutely for the charges to be dropped. But our problem at this point is that there are too many people who fear being visibly, publicly in support of getting justice for Oscar, and they fear attending a rally and a march because they think that they're not going to have control over what happens, and that at some point, you know, a group of people may be able to direct it in a certain direction, and they're scared to come out. We got to break through that, and to me, that means having an event which is at once powerful and militant, and by that I mean something other than a die-in, you know, where there's speakers and people are saying we're trying to get justice, having it be really, really, really strong and really, really, really peaceful. Because if it's both of those two things at once, if it's, and nobody was better at organizing such things than Martin Luther King, and that's what we need. And if we can get that, I just think we can force Dellums to say stop the cover-up. We can, you know, we can get Jerry Brown or one of those people to feel like they have to intercede. If we can make it big enough, we can force Obama to have to comment on this. We have to make this killing the most important single measure of racism in the society now to get Obama to come out on the right side. And if we can do that, those cops they're going to jail. But that's what we have to aspire to do. Yeah.
Yeah, just, I mean, you made the point, which I agree with, that the prosecutors have forgotten how to prosecute and have no intention. I don't think they would have even filed murder charges at all unless people revolted in Oakland and stood up in a lot of different ways and rebelled against this. And one of the ways that, I mean, you know, they have, the media's given some coverage, like you were saying, to the Oscar Grant shooting, but they've also vilified people who stood up and fought for justice and were brutalized by the police for doing so. And so to me, one of the ways that, you know, we're all going to fight for this objective of justice for Oscar Grant, and I would add no more stolen lives by the police, is mass political resistance. Your petition, all sorts of other forms of it, but we have to I think that it's important. Look, we did a thing, a stolen march of stolen lives, and the police were out there, and we had made it clear to them the whole week that we were having an orderly, organized, spirited march on the sidewalk, which we have a legal right, and they knew full well there was no issue of property damage, and they put out hundreds of police to literally try to prevent people from even joining an organized march. So I think that's something that we have to also expose and oppose, and we were defiant, you know, nobody, you know, there was
I totally understand.
You know, it was a very determined thing. So I just think we've got to really fight the power on this in all the ways that we can in a mass way, or they're going to do what this prosecutor, as you're saying, is already